You have to do your due diligence. That's going to be so critical so that you know what you're getting. And remember, yes, you will make money off of every acquisition, but you still need to identify the fact that it's going to be a long road. And is it really the right place to do it? So today we're going to chat a little bit about what not to do when buying an insurance agency. And this may seem weird to say, what? I want to know what to do, not what not to do. But the reality is there's a lot of things that maybe we shouldn't do when buying an agency. And I just actually got off another podcast where we were talking about this. So many times people get kind of caught up in the art of the deal. They get wrapped up into the romance of it all of, I'm buying this agency. And then we get kind of rose colored glasses. And the reality is, in all reality, buying an agency is harder to do sometimes than getting married. You can kind of get divorced kind of quick and down and dirty and easy, but you can't undo a sale of a business very easily. And so it is important that we kind of manage between the two of a sales process, which is selling that agency owner or on why to buy us or why we should be buying them. And then two, the second half is doing your due diligence. And they're kind of diametrically opposed, right? But I see so many agencies who go through their first couple acquisitions and learn so much that we're trying to come up with a series that says, like, don't skin your knees, go into this. And I don't know, sometimes I think that the only way people really do learn is by truly skinning their knees too. A couple things that we always want to talk about if you're buying an agency is don't fall in love with the agency. Don't get so in that you can't cut bait and, move on. This is sort of why I think a lot of agencies get stuck with deals or they overpay. Now, almost every agency you purchase will be profitable for you over time. But there's a big difference between the length of profitability, keeping it short and getting your money back faster. And then there's also the idea of the other resources and damages. Like while I say you'll never lose money in an agency, you will lose stress, hair, team members, patience, all the other things, because you're really doing something very difficult, which is merging two cultures together. The other thing I just want to get up front is it's okay to be picky. Not every agency needs to be a fit for you. And I say that with all the love in my heart for everybody. But the reality is that there are some times when you will find that it's just not a good fit. And you don't want to get your pride and ego involved. And then there's no opportunity to kind of revert back. So I do think it's super important for everybody to be thinking that way. The last thing is you have to come into it eyes wide open. Not every team member, client, and possibly even their leadership team of that other agency will make it through this process. Even if you have all the love in your heart, all the love in the world, it's actually not a bad thing if some team members don't make it out. If they don't share your vision and values, they're just going to be a roadblock. So it's okay to let them go and let them find their own way. I would say you have to do your due diligence. And if everything seems too good to be true, this should be your first warning sign. I own several businesses. We have skeletons in our closet, things that aren't working well, things that could work better. The whole idea of a business owner is being a problem solver. And so sometimes I feel like all day long, I'm a firefightress, maybe, that's working through and finding problems and updating them. You have to do your due diligence. That's going to be so critical so that you know what you're getting. And remember, yes, you will make money off of every acquisition, but you still need to identify the fact that it's going to be a long road. And is it really the right place to do it? So a couple of things that you want to think about. And some of these don't mean that you have to walk away from the deal. They just means it might impact the purchase price, right? Is the agency growing or shrinking? And not due to a hard market, but it's harder to turn around a ship that's off track. That's going to require more elbow grease. What's the client demographic, right? Are they all 6-month monoline policies, non-standard, lots of E&S stuff? We had one agency owner that purchased an agency that was premium financing personal lines. And that didn't become a thing until, lo and behold, kind of got through and learned what was going on. So that question just wasn't asked. But understanding a little bit about how they operate, I think, is key. History. What's the brand's reputation? What are they doing really well? What are they known for? Are there any bad online reviews? You can do some of this just through kind of going ahead and doing some online searches, talking to your marketing reps, being present in the community. All of those things make a difference. Age of the book. Are you buying all clients that are going to be at retirement age or, personal lines, maybe not driving anymore? That's going to change your purchase price for the book for sure. Property. A lot of times agency owners may own a property and they want that to be part of the sale or they want to rent it back for a certain amount of time. That's really up to you on that front on how you feel about property. I always say more locations, more headaches. So I am not somebody who loves to have a ton of locations. Like to keep it simple, keep it easy and breezy. Last thing I want to do is have everybody scramble because so-and-so called out sick and now we need coverage in another office. And no matter how hard you try, each office town has its own community and its own vibe, and you're going to struggle to keep the culture consistent. Carriers, do they match or have contracts you need, or is it all brokered business? What kind of carriers do you have? When we work with agencies that have high acquisition, I will tell you this, it is a scenario where they have all these markets. So we had one agency that acquired probably 12 books of business in about a year and a half. And lo and behold, we counted it. They had 93 carrier contracts. Too many. And the staff didn't always have all the logins. And that meant so-and-so couldn't service so-and-so. So all of this is a challenge. So that is 100% on point. So just have to think through that a little bit. Staff. Are they demanding you keep some staff? Sometimes it's like, well, I need you to keep these people. I think that's a red flag. I think you might need to walk away at that point in time. I think you might need to reconsider, need to identify whose agency this is. Anytime that there's some sacred lambs that, people think that they can't get away without, you will find that they can get away and they're trying to protect them for some reason. The last one is name. Some agency owners want to keep the name. Some say that they don't want to keep the name. I think, again, it's very difficult to be branded all these different names. Over time, if acquisitions are your thing, you are going to lose that ability to have that one name and get that brand equity of power. And everything you do is going to become more complicated. So I stress that you can't get yourself wrapped up into the deal details. And instead, you need to make sure you write down your boundaries and stick to them. This is a business deal. This is nothing more than business. And that's one of the things that you're going to want to focus on. Another thing that, is really important to talk about is tech stack, right? So technology merging is huge. So if your current team is using all this technology, you've worked hard on your tech stack, that's amazing. You have to remember that this new team coming in has to learn your processes and procedures, your agency standards, your technology, your carriers. They have to learn so much. And so I think it's really important to set up a roadmap for people about where you're going. That means you have to stick to the roadmap, obviously, but what you don't want to do is wait for too long to have too many people on different systems. However, many of the management systems are going to take some time to do that transfer one way or another. So you're not going to be in a situation where it's going to be simple and easy either, where it's just like, boom, no problem. Let's just turn a light switch on. It's expensive, which is another thing that's get factored into the deal. It's tedious. It's going to take some time, effort, and energy. And then once that system happens, you have to get people using a new system, which is very challenging. And it's not impossible. It's just challenging, which is two different scenarios. It's challenging mostly because you have to learn something new. And where you used to be able to fly through your job, now things are not quite as simple, not quite as easy, not quite as efficient. Another scenario that I think is really critical is identifying that you don't want to make the change a light switch. So what do I mean by that? When you're buying an agency, it's not a bad thing to say, hey, get to know each other for a couple months. Try not to change anything for 6 months. If you need to, you need to. But like payroll, they're going to change payroll, right? There's going to be some things that change. Let those digest, get to know the team, identify who's going to be a fit and stay, and then start going down the path of the management system and the carrier training and everything else. But it's okay to baby step some of it and take some bite-sized chunks, because if not, what'll end up happening is you'll give people whiplash. And your current team might not be as empathetic to this team that's trying to learn all these new things. It's not really their fault. It's just the circumstances that they're in. So take a look. I think that the biggest another pitfall too when buying an agency is look at the staff compensation. If your staff's compensation is higher or lower, people talk about their compensation. You're going to need to address some of this. Look at the expenses when we talk about merging systems. And also look at your carrier portfolio. By buying this, is this going to bump you into a new and better tier? So there's all these things that you'll have to think about and go through. And we highly recommend that you go into these deals eyes wide open. There's a lot that goes right, and then there's a lot that goes wrong. But what I can tell you is you'll always make money. You just might lose that hair, sleep, people, your sanity, patience, and you'll get it back later on. So that's our tips on what not to do when buying an agency.